So,
yeah,
bar none. Now I think Corey's going to talk to us about the Ford F-150s going lightning, brother. That's all on you.
Yep. Cool. So the next thing, we're going to bring it back down to earth and talk about electric vehicles on the ground.
Yep.
This one's from Auto Week. It's about the new Ford F-150 EV truck. Now, we've been talking about this a few times, knowing this was going to come. And, we were also saying, okay, F-150 is a huge selling vehicle, the best-selling truck in America.
Best-selling car.
They make
anything.
Make tons of tons of sales with this thing. And we said, got to go electric sooner or later, and I mean, here it is, of course. So the full title is the F-150 Lightning ushers in the EV trucks to the new mainstream. So they're calling it the Lightning. You may also remember that Ford had another truck called the Ford Lightning, and it was a bit of a performance version. And I'd say that's been a little while since that had been out, but we'll get into some of the figures here. And of course, this F-150 is no slouch since it's electric, of course. So some quick things just to rattle them off. Estimates are saying about 230 to 300 miles of range. So not bad. If it's near 300, that's decent, right? It's a bigger vehicle than some of these smaller sedans. So we'll see. I'll get into wondering about battery capacity in a minute, but initially it says that the F-150 electric Lightning will start around 39,900 and some change before tax credits. And that it will come with a 80 amp charging station for your home or wherever you want to put it in. They do say that you have to put it in yourself or get it put in obviously by a professional, but that's not part of the price. But then basically there you go. You've got an electric Ford F-150 for some pretty good stats. They're talking about 426 horsepower, a bunch of torque because it's electric.
There you go.
775 foot-pounds of torque. Really no surprise, right? And yeah, I mean, it goes right along with what I've said about electric trucks in the past. And some people also say this too down here, say, okay, it's going to be quick. No doubt. It's electric.
Right.
Of course. When you want to go tow something with this thing, how much is it going to affect range? And that's why I was going with just talk about the battery range. If we're saying battery range is saying 230 to 300, but now we know this isn't a sedan. You're not just driving around. You're going to be towing stuff. I want to see real world towing range numbers because again, I'm not worried about torque. It says 2,000 to 10,000 pound max towing. No surprise, really. One thing that is pretty cool that I saw in here also that's kind of nice. It has let me try to find it for you, but it says it's got a built-in system that helps you know how much weight you're carrying.
Yeah, I just had it on screen.
I can't find it in the article.
It actually,
you see it in the article somewhere?
So it says it's got the smart hitch checklist, which actually talks about the weight distribution on the actual hitch. And then actually on screen, unfortunately, it still has sync on board, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the vehicle will actually tell you how much it's loaded to, and it has the onboard scales, right? One thing that I did notice on the fact that this thing definitely has Tesla screen envy is it's got this massive vertical screen in the middle.
It's a 15-inch screen.
Yeah, it's pretty big, but okay. And you touched on a lot of the things, but there's one thing that I want to talk about actually real quickly with you because I am concerned about the fact that if you take the #1 selling vehicle in America and you chop its usability off to get to market first, right? Now, in the old gaming console days, you used to turn around and put a chipset together, throw it out there as fast as you can just because you wanted to beat Nintendo or somebody else to marketplace, and you knew it couldn't move as many pixels, but you just wanted it out there because you didn't want to lose your place in line. And I have a feeling that 230, and exactly what you're saying about the people that want to do capable towing, is going to be a hindrance for this. I actually feel like, you know what? If you told me it was like 335 and then I could probably tow 260, you probably would have had like a better chance. I've been like, that's about the average, you know.
I was thinking if it goes 350, 400 with no tow and like 300 towing, okay, right? Okay. But yeah.
It's gonna. I think that might be a problem for them on the sales pitch here because look, outside of that, it looks great. Okay, it does have a frunk, which is interesting. It's got a front trunk.
that's gonna throw some people when they see it. Yeah.
Right. It's got the frunk, and then the other part of it is when I'm looking at this big screen down here at the bottom, it looks like they've actually made these dials look like they're part of the actual like non-screen part, but they're actually part of the screen, but they lit them like the Sistine Chapel, so they look like they're an actual dial, but it's not. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like you can page over them.
It looks exactly like the I'll call them analog buttons
Yes.
on Ford. If you go over to the left there, right below the AC vent there, that knob, which is exactly what you're talking about. That's typical Ford and their cars as of late. And yeah, you're exactly right. It looks like the AC knob.
The knob
is meant to look exactly like that, so that I'm seeing it and saying it appears that they're making it as easy as possible to transition to such a screen, right?
Sure. And here's the other one. Look, they obviously they're touting the fact that it's all electric, because if you look at this picture, I'll get our mugs out of the way. But they have their, the iPad, whatever, set up here. They got their pencils. They have, the electric tools and things plugged in, because you don't need a generator anymore, right? Because it's there. You're just draining your car's battery. But could you imagine if you actually cut into your tailgate? I don't think I would ever cut a piece of wood like that. That wouldn't be my first choice, obviously.
Well,
but the other part of it is it's the frunk, right? They do have a frunk.
Yeah.
And they do show it here towing. Okay. Now
they do. It looks like an Airstream. I think it is.
It is an Airstream. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Which it looks pretty, right? It's got the pedigree. It's got the Ford F-150 looks. I have no problem with what they're doing. It's the range, and the only other thing is that I find is I wonder what the off-road capabilities are going to be like, knowing that you now have to have battery packs. What's the actual ground clearance going to be on the chassis as well?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in a different ball game all of a sudden. And the other thing is, it looks like they've redesigned this chin panel completely, because if you notice, there's no bumper.
What chin panel?
So this chin panel right here at the bottom, there is no.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, there's no physical bumper here. Okay. And for that matter, I'm sure they had to do this for aerodynamics. It looks like, unless that's just a black a painted panel, but it looks like the bumpers is been deleted, and I'm wondering if what things they had to make compromises on for air, and making it a little bit slipperier in the wind tunnel.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we may be getting a little ahead of myself here when I talk about this, but knowing that it's a truck, right? And knowing that some people want to go off-road with it, and knowing it's electric, of course, people are going to want to probably do that. Some people are going to want to give it a go. Now I just have to think, okay, if you take this truck off-road and you high center it somewhere, you're high centered on a bunch of batteries now. So that's that's obviously never good, but it's just something that came to my mind, right? As I'm sitting here talking about a truck with batteries in the middle. There's a schematic here that shows an X-ray,
an X-ray, the actual vehicle. Yeah, I can bring that up. Give me a second here. I'll work that out.
Yeah, so it looks like it has two motors. It looks like a dual motor.
Okay.
It appears, and a bunch of batteries in the middle, right?
Right.
So, and I think my question about the whole thing in general, right, was talking about range. You had the same concern,
right?
And I think that kind of dovetails right into what we're talking about with battery progress in terms of like what we're talking about with the next gen or future gen batteries, not just from Tesla, because obviously they're talking about having crazy amount of range out of the new Tesla Roadster coming.
Right.
Nothing. We don't have any hard facts about the new Tesla Roadster's batteries range and all that, but we know they're touting 500 to 600 possible miles on the new Roadster. That's not a big vehicle. But they're obviously looking at that. I mean, we've seen a bunch of articles about Tesla trying to upgrade and further their battery chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking for a while on this channel about also solid state batteries. So I'm kind of saying where I'm getting at is, man, if you could get this truck up the range with newer gen capacity batteries, maybe solid state. I know we're not there yet, but I'm just speculating.
We're not.
It'd be a real winner. I mean, if you get an F-150 that can tow 10,000 pounds and it goes 450, 500 miles, and it's going to cost, then it'll maybe cost 50 something thousand.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, okay.
But here, I mean, look, this is where obviously Tesla with Cybertruck and knowing that their platform and they have a little bit more range built into their product from day one, right? And that they're going to offer a 2-wheel drive model and that they're going to have a different things out there. It's interesting to me to see that it's a bold move for Ford to turn around, like I said, and almost neuter this thing a little bit just to keep it in the conversation and get into marketplace earlier. Now, here's the thing. What if you buy the 2022, right? And then they turn around the very next year and they dump out and they say, oh, by the way, we're going to give this model 380 miles range. Now,
Yep,
and
we got new batteries. Boom. Here
yeah,
you go.
and now the thing is, unless I can bring mine in and drop the battery pack for a surcharge of say $2,000, right? And they say, well, we'll rewire yours, and there's an upgrade program or something like that. I think they might do irreparable damage to the brand. I think they have to be really careful here. It could end up backfiring in that extent because look, all right, let's say 3 years down the road, the range doesn't change and the thing doesn't sell because it doesn't have the range.
It's going to be behind everybody. We already can speculate.
We
That.
can,
If this goes 3 years from now and the range is still 300 miles, it's gonna be a hard sell because
exactly
there's a lot of players coming in electric marketplace, and then a lot of players go in electric trucks.
Sure.
And they're going to have more range than that by then.
Then you
Cybertruck,
really have to love Ford, though. Then you have to love Ford.
Speculating here too, but Cybertruck's going to have way more range than that.
Of course, of course. Well, hey, folks, and look, it's a pretty truck. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about it. I think it's attractive.
It's a classic design.
I think for what they did, what they wanted to bring out here, they did a good job, and I showed a lot of pictures of it. At least the ones that Ford has released, and it's a pretty truck. I like it. We're just gonna have to see what's made of it in the marketplace, how it's gonna be received, and how people are gonna buy it. That's all. So, lots of questions, but hey, again, Tesla has put the pressure on everybody. That's the only thing you could really come back from saying in this is that Tesla's put the pressure on the marketplace.
And in a way, it's nice to see, right? And don't think that at least for, me and Mike, we're just Tesla fanboys. I mean, I do have Tesla. Full disclosure, like my Tesla, no worries. But we've always said, or I've always said too, right? Competition is great,
of course.
And if nothing else, Elon, as Mike said, put a bunch of pressure on market to innovate, and innovation breeds a lot of obviously new things that people can look at, but also competition. And the idea hopefully is everybody wins. So there you go.
That's 100% where I'm at with this. Is that when you have that level, and that's again, I mean, I hate to bring up Jetoptera in this conversation, but that's why I look at them to be in that position. It's the same. It dovetails into everything else because this is how you see trends develop, and this is what people don't usually pay attention to sometimes. That there are those little diverse pieces, and I'll go back into the console wars. When Sony said they wanted to team up with Nintendo and produce a console years back, and then they broke off the engagement together, and Sony said we're going to go it alone, and Nintendo and Sega looked at them and said, bah, along came the PlayStation, and it devastated the marketplace. Okay, and that doesn't happen all the time. And there's inroads that are made into marketplaces that people forget. There's a lot to learn from older consumer products, and how cars are different, tastes are different. But Tesla like we said, they've sold 500,000 cars this last year. That's not by surprise. That's because they did the job, and the job was successfully done. End of story.
And they keep pushing too, right?
Who knows?
When we talk about innovation, they don't stagnate. Their R&D is just constantly going. And if you purposely go on the internet and search for things that they have coming up, whether it's products or also let's just say like battery chemistry changes, it's all there. They're constantly trying new stuff. So
anyhow, we got to try some new stuff too. We got to move on.
Moving on.
So I guess the best thing that we can do at this point is